decision, obviously without one of the main writers here, I couldn't talk about it before because of the people didn't know the relationship between Bob and Leyland. But maybe anyone can speculate on this. Leyland goes to the sheriff's office to say that he knows about Bob. Is there complete, I mean, it seems like if Bob is kind of manipulating things, he might not want to call attention to it. Any thoughts from you guys as to what might inspire him to actively take a role in trying to solve the murder?
Wasn't he, didn't he think, I mean, that last episode we saw, you saw in the scene when he was dying, you know, that he sort of knew, he didn't know, right? You know, wasn't he there? Isn't that where he was at the end? And so coming into the sheriff's office, he was coming in as Leyland, right? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, it's.
I don't think it's any more complicated than that. Maybe it is, but because that's who Leyland, the character, actually was. I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, for me, it's obviously a very, you know, it's a clearly deliberate choice. I'm just curious, you know, how that sort of relationship between when he does things as Bob and when he does things as Leyland might, you know, sort of affect the decisions that he makes as a person. But you know, I'll ask Harley that question next week.
Yeah, Ray. Yeah, or Ray.
Given the nature of my character, I have tried to devote a lot of thought to this because, you know, it kind of would dictate how I would play a scene in many ways. And I have come to the conclusion that it is never fully stated that there is an alternate universe. Maybe some of you people who have studied physics know about string theory and some of these ideas that, in fact, you know, that we can only see 5% of what's out there in the universe, and that we coexist with so many other things and so many entities that are out there that sometimes they come into our world and sometimes they go fleeting by. And I think that David was trying to get at, you know, he meditates a lot. He's a great promoter of meditation, and I hope everybody does. And when you do that, you do put your mind into an alternate space other than the one that you're sitting in right now. And I really think that my character and Leland and Bob, and I had my doppelganger sort of in Michael J. Anderson, wonderful man. The introduction of our almost otherworldly characters into the whole plot situation reflects this thinking that there is more out there than we can see.
It's so funny you said those words, because that's when I was telling you about asking David about props and what I could do. He literally used those words. Jeff, it's an alternate universe. Just think of it that way. So that's, I didn't want to say that before because I thought everybody thought I'd be crazy. But that's what David said. He just said it. So.
I'm retired, so I don't care what you
do. So let's start to get some students lined up for questions. And while they're getting ready at the podium, I thought maybe we could just have a favorite story from the set from each one of you.
Yeah, since I was there with David on the episodes, he often did some pretty surprising things. I remember at one point he came to me and he said, "Rich, I need you to take these boots and I need you to put a logo on the bottom of these boots." And I didn't know what the hell I was going to do, but he said, "I need to have press it into the dirt, you can see the logo left behind. And he said, it's got to be Circle Brand. And I had a bunch of little vinyl letters, that you peel off and stick to make a quick sign before computer graphics. And I just stacked them up, Circle Brand. I stacked up 5 or 6 C's, 5 or 6 I's, until I had a relief of Circle Brand. And I stacked up several washers, which is of course a circle in the middle, glued it in there and spray painted it black. And he took that boot, he stamped it into the dirt, and we saw the logo down there, and he said, "That's damn good work." He never explained what it was for, and it didn't show up until several episodes later, when I believe Leo leaves behind a crucial clue.
In the shoe, right, Rich?
Yeah.
In the heel.
Yes.
We
on
had
the
we
bottom
had
of the.
we had to carve out the heel, and so that was actually
Yeah.
we got that
So
story.
no explanation, but he could see things that he would, a place where he would need to go, and he prepared the way ahead of time.
Good story.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
Not about Twin Peaks itself. It's about the Sunfire Walk with Me. I don't know. I actually assume that most all of you have seen the film.
Well, actually, who here is still of the neophyte crowd? There's a lot of new viewers.
Dude, I love it.
Yeah. Actually, let me see a show of hands. Who has seen Fire Walk with Me? Okay. The chase scene is my favorite. And it started out, they originally had hired a stunt driver who was going to dress up like me and drive a Dodge Charger or something like that. And I said, David, I've got my own little mini camper, and it looks really weird. And I'm a pretty good driver, so why don't we have me do the stunt driving? And we got into it, and I started wheeling my little Chinook camper around and doing donuts, and then we got into it, the chase part where the camera car was an old Cadillac convertible with a camera mounted on the back, and roaring down these country roads up there in Snoqualmie area, and I'm just driving my little Chinook like crazy. I actually got the thing up on 2 wheels once. And David was in the car. We had a little walkie-talkie, and he was coming back and talking to me, and he said, "Oh no, no!" and he was absolutely petrified the way I was driving, and I think it came off on the film too. So that was my favorite part. And he actually did he paid me the incredible honor when we previewed or opened the film, its premiere. He introduced me on the stage as the best stunt driver I've ever worked with. And I just love it.
Any other stories from the set that you find particularly unusual or under talked about?
Not that much, but I do remember on the first one that I did, we had the scene in the vet's office, and it was out there in like Westlake, and then they shot a lot in that kind of Westlake Village area, and we passed a llama farm, and so after we scouted the vet's office, I asked somebody if we could get a llama in there, and they actually did it. It's just so remarkable. And and what I loved about it is that there's a moment there, you saw it, I guess, where Kyle MacLachlan and the llama actually make eye contact in the shot, and it was just such I've never forgotten it. You just see the llama and Kyle really make eye contact.
I remember that we punctuated it with like a little, which just kissed it.
And then and then the other thing that I remember somewhat more sadly is that I did the next to the last episode after the show had been canceled, so I went back and I was happy to do one more episode, and I really wanted to see everybody again because it's such a marvelous cast. Everybody was so vivid and so individual and so wonderful. You guys, but everybody there was no generic. Everybody was so unique and so much themselves in the show, and the spirit in the first season was so remarkable. Everybody knowing that they were on something very special and very unique, and they were just excited to be there. And then when I went back for that last episode after the show had been canceled, everybody was very sad, and some of the actors had become more cynical, and it was a kind of a sad near ending to the thing. But again, David, came in and did the last episode, and of course it was absolutely extraordinary. So it still ended on a note of supreme individuality, I thought.
Well, when David was on the set, it was completely different than because he was such a crew and behind the camera director. He knew everybody's name, knew what they did. It was such a pleasure to work with David. So you would just sort of like hang around his director's chair like this, Everybody was like, wanted to be around David, and so every time he showed up, and it was a great thing to have David come in on that last episode because we were definitely down, and he always brought us joy. It was always fun to be there with him, his voice and his way of doing things always was a good day.